Hello, hello, hello. Hey, you guys, it's your girl, Miss Mouthy, and thank you for coming back for another episode of the Miss Mouthy podcast. If it's your first time tuning in to the Miss Mouthy podcast, welcome. We are so glad that you stumbled upon us. And if you're a returning set of lips, hey, what's up, you guys? Thanks for coming back. This week episode is definitely a continuous episode of a build-up of an event that we're going to be a part of in New York at the end of this month. And so I'm so excited to be a part and have these different conversations because this one is about Eden's Garden. And this episode today is the Eden Garden Reloaded. And I thought since it was June, it's only perfectly right to talk about Men's Mental Health Month. I think it's so important, especially when we had game changing men in DC making impact, making change, doing the things at the National Trans Visibility March. It was good to see so many people on my news feed just in community, embracing each other. So I wanted to have my brothers on this episode to talk about not only um, them and their own personal endeavors and what they got going on, but collectively how they've been and talk about the mental health awareness that needs to be addressed when it comes to trans men in this climate, in this month, in totality. And so I'm going to bring out my special guests so they can introduce themselves. Hey everyone. Hey y'all.
Hey,
How y'all feeling? How y'all feeling?
doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So,
Hey,
whoever want to introduce themselves, please introduce yourself for the folks and
bless,
let them know
bless.
who you are and what you do.
I'll jump off first. I'm
Okay.
Rail Lowry. I'm the
I'll let you
transgender
take it, bro.
for Charlotte Black Pride. I also play the character of Pernell in Eden's Garden. Happy to be with y'all. Looking forward to a great podcast episode and looking forward to seeing y'all in New York in a couple of weeks.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much, Manny.
My name is Vega. I play the character Leroy. I do advocacy with game changing men. And I look forward to seeing guys in New York City so we can turn up and make some memories.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank y'all so much for taking the time out. I know y'all have busy schedules and everything to be a part of this conversation. One of the things that I guess I would just highlight, starting with you, Manny. How was everything in DC? What was that experience like? Can you hear me? So what was your experience like in DC at the
I didn't
National?
hear the question.
Oh, what was your
You're breaking
experience
up.
like in DC? I'm sorry. You hear me?
I believe you're asking how was. I believe you were asking how my experience was in DC.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yes, it was amazing. It was a movement and people showed up and that's what we needed. It was a lot of inclusion for everybody on top of it being the Trans Visibility March. It was also World Pride. So we had allies in the building. We had trans, intersex like myself. It was just so many different beautiful faces. And the
Yeah.
security I appreciated as well because that was something we were really worried about. You know, we had some of those folks out there, but it was a
Yeah.
safe environment and very uplifting.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so I guess I'll pose the question with it being mental health month. Let's do a check-in. How have both of y'all been feeling this month or just in totality around y'all mental health?
You want to go, brother? You want me to go?
You want to go real?
Yeah, I can go. Um, Honestly, I've been doing pretty good. I've been taking
You
my
could take that. I'll clean it up at the end.
okay. I've been taking my time. basically just making sure I stay in tune with my
Well,
mental health, my family,
for my,
not taking too much into the news, just limiting
Yeah.
what I take into my spirit, making sure I stay productive, staying positive, not trying to overexert myself, um, and just being positive, just enjoying life, because I think that's what it's about. Um, you can control what you can control, and outside of that, you just kind of have to let things go. So if you let everything stress you out that's going on in the world, especially right now over the last 6 months, it's not gonna work out too well for you. Just control what
Yeah.
you can control and take it from there.
I agree wholeheartedly. All right. Manny, you want to chime in? How you been feeling?
so for myself, I had a this past couple of days was a little rough for me. Um, and what I need to let people know is you check in on your strong ones, because sometimes we're not,
Yeah.
you know, as
It's
strong
okay. Yeah. I
as we
get it.
look. I have to shout out the prayer warriors, Jamesia, Quay. I don't know if you guys are watching. I have to thank you. Um, Quentin, my brother, Seven, my nephew. It was a rough couple of days,
Hmm.
but we have to understand and try to put in ourselves to know that there's greatness coming and that there are things to live for.
Amen.
And that's why I was saying, you know, when I spoke to you about mental health, that's something that's really important. Sometimes people are afraid to reach out. Sometimes people are afraid to say they need help.
Hmm.
And sometimes you don't have those right people in your corner to receive that message, because sometimes people receive it as if people are looking for attention
Yeah.
or something. So sometimes people don't go for that help. So I just feel like we should be able to have those conversations with those that we consider our family.
Yeah.
But yeah, so mental health is really important for the strong too. Yeah,
I thank you so much for being vulnerable and being able to share that and even bringing it to light. I think it's so important when somebody is acknowledging mental health because it's something that affects all of us. But I want you to understand that your vulnerability does not um, weaken anything. And I hope that after this conversation or, our introduction to each other, we will then start to build something that can hold space for us to check in on one another just to see how we doing. You know what I mean? I definitely appreciate that. And that leads me to my next question with what do y'all think are the current barriers that make black men not seek mental health services?
I think oftentimes we're taught, whether it's by cis binary
you
men
broke up.
or
I
trans
didn't quite
men.
hear the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. What do you think are the barriers that lead black men to not seek help for their mental health? And Rael, you were saying,
I think we're often taught, even growing up as children, um, regardless if you're cis male or trans male, if you are the dominant person in your relationship or within your family, you're taught that it is a negative thing to show emotion. It's a negative thing to cry. You're supposed to be able to take everything in. You're supposed to be strong. You're supposed to take everything on the chin. You're supposed to be able to shake it
Right.
off. Um, and that's toxic. It's toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that as I've gotten older, I've realized and learned through my friends, my family, my church, my counselor, my therapist. Um, it's BS, to be honest, because we're human before we're anything else. And everybody has a certain level of emotion, grief, trauma that they can take, regardless of how you identify. And you have to be able to process that. You have to be able to release that. Because if you try to hold on to everything, one is going to make you physically sick at some point, and it's going to break you down because we're human.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
not built to take everything in and just hold on to it and just keep going. It's
That
just
part.
not possible. So I'm grateful that I've learned to channel that. I have a therapist. I know in our community, the black community, seeing a therapist is often looked upon as, well, we don't do that. We sweep everything under the rug. We don't talk about family traumas and things like that. No, no. If something is hurting you, has hurt you, there is no other way to get past it besides to talk about it and to deal with it. Because at some point, it's gonna get bigger than you.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm like I said, I'm grateful that I've learned to toss away that toxic masculinity and understand that I'm human before anything else. And it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to
Amen.
talk to people about what you're dealing with in order to process, because it can also motivate somebody else that is going through the same thing. So it's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay to not be okay. That's one of the most important things that I've learned. It's okay to not be okay.
Thank you so much for sharing. Manny, you want to add anything about why you feel like men may not seek help when it comes to mental health resources?
Well, in different aspects, I have not had the best encounters in that sense, because you have uh, the lack of training with certain said individuals and sex trends. So the responses that you get sometimes from these professionals are not, even if they're in the quote unquote proper setting, like in the navigated by the community to these individuals. I've had the wow, I don't see how you did that. And those aren't type of things you want to hear
Yeah,
from someone that's supposed to be assisting you. And
that
then
part.
also, sometimes it's not even about us not wanting to go, it's sometimes we're not covered for it. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? I've
Yeah.
gone to take intakes where unfortunately I'm on disability due to health reasons. But I've gone to go to services for mental health to have them turn around and rip a band-aid off, and then you go to make the next appointment and they're like, oh, sorry, your insurance isn't accepted. So now
Yeah.
we're walking around with a band-aid ripped off, and then it's like, look, I tried, then you wind up just trying to deal with it yourself.
I get it. Thank you for sharing that. And that makes a very valid point that, like, once you start to open yourself up and you just get into the meat of it, and then you tell me now, like, oh, well, that's it. It even feels like that with the amount of time that's allotted, right, for the sessions. It's like, damn, girl, I was just getting to the good part, or damn, bro, I was just getting to the good part of telling you what I think we were getting to something. So y'all brought up a really good point. I want to ask, what are some signs that people could be aware of, maybe in men or in themselves, that can be exhibited in poor mental health?
Well, I know for myself, I tend to get quiet,
Okay.
you know, or just distant, because sometimes you don't want to put that burden on people. So
Yeah.
you kind of pull away, kind of try to lick your wounds and heal yourself, but sometimes it just. But I feel like I have friends that do the same thing or tell me the same thing when they're feeling out of place or depressed. They feel like they want to just keep to themselves, you know.
Yeah.
You need
Thank
to
you so much.
maybe just check in and say, "Hey, everything's good. You good?" You know.
Yeah. Rail, you want to add anything?
Um, I agree with Manny 100%.
Hmm.
Definitely the quietness. Me being an introvert and a Cancer, when I'm stressed, when I'm stressed or depressed or having a moment and can't figure it out and just don't know, I'm quiet. I'm automatically naturally quiet, but it's a different level of quiet, and I just
Yeah.
need space. Um, you can also get to a period of where you're numb, depending on how much stuff you're taking on, to where
Yeah.
you just can't take anything else in. There's no emotion, there's no reaction. Everything is just still. And there have been periods where I've gotten like that, and that's just when you reach your cap. You can't take anything else. You can't let anything else in or out. So
Yeah.
the quietness, the shutting down, the numbness, just walking. You're just going through life, um, day to day, just going, not living, just going.
Yeah.
But those
That
are
was going to
definitely
take me
signs.
into my next thing around do y'all ever feel like the pressures of life or let's say specifically a gender role is too much to where it it kind of adds that extra layer of depression or anxiety to what you're already going through or trying to, alleviate.
I think it can if you allow it to. Um, if or if you don't have a supportive circle, partner, friends, what have you, I think it definitely can. Um, and if you're dealing with it solo, having a strong prayer life, I encourage that too because you got to lean on something. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Nobody can deal with this thing called life, especially in our journey that we are going through on a day to day basis. You just can't do it solo. You gotta either have somebody or believe in something. And as the dominant or masculine person, it can feel like a lot at times. But at this age, there was a point where I would just not speak about it. Just that's what you're supposed to do because that's what you saw your
Yeah.
father do. That's what you saw your grandfather do. That's what you saw your great grandfather do. You just deal with it and you go on. I'm at an age where I'm able to be honest with myself, my partner, my family. Again, where it's okay to be like, hey, I'm tapped out.
Hmm.
I'm tapped out,
Hmm.
and I need a minute. Um, I need a shoulder, something. Um, but like I said, we're not superheroes. You know what I
That
mean?
part.
We're not superheroes, so we gotta. It's like I said again. It's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to not pretend to be okay. Just reach out.
Manny, this question is for you. What do you think that you need in the moments where you feel maybe the pressures of the world or you may not be feeling your best? What could really help you or what have you seen helped you in the past kind of level out?
Thank you.
You broke up. Could you repeat that, please?
Yes, of course. So, when you maybe at your lowest or experiencing any type of mental health moment, what have you found that you needed, or what was something that helped alleviate those pressures? Did you hear that?
I'm thinking you're asking, what do I do
Oh,
when I
okay.
feel like I'm
Yeah.
in my lowest? Um, I hear uh, uh, what I do to try to get out of them. For myself, I try to stay busy. I try to help people. Um, I I create things. I paint. I try to get out of mood that's got me down. I try to make other people smile. That'll make me smile. For other people, I tell them just try to think about that they're here. And think about the people that would miss you if you were gone. You know,
Yeah.
um, that helps me lift myself up, or it also helps me not be selfish. If I think things into a too of a dark of a place, I just try to think about those uh, that got my back.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. What is maybe one way in which we could reduce the stigma for men when it comes to mental health?
Society as a whole cannot look down on men that show emotion.
Yeah, that part.
Society, society as a whole can stop this toxic teaching that if a little boy cries because he's upset about something, he's a punk. Or,
Mhm. Mhm.
feeling like if you punch him in the chest, that's going to strengthen him up. It's not. It's toxic. And that's teaching him an improper way to deal with his emotions. And he's going to take that and that's going to linger with him. And it's going to teach him an unhealthy behavior of dealing with his emotions that could possibly transition into his way he interacts with his friends, with his future partner, with his
Mhm.
children. Um, we got to stop that
Yeah.
because you have our sons, our nephews, our cousins, those male youth, we have to stop making it not okay for them to show emotion or for them to be different or if they're a little bit more feminine to make them feel like they're not normal
Yeah.
and they have to be, they have to be thugs. They don't. We have to stop that. I've seen it too many times, even including family and friends of mine that I know think that that's a way to make your male sons make them better men. It doesn't,
Mhm.
because it might not be an issue now, but it will end up being an issue in the future.
I agree.
Just it's just so much. It's just so much work we have to do as a community, as a country, in allowing men to be different
That part.
and allowing them to be themselves, not what society wants them to be until it is no longer beneficial. We want them to be thugs and be hard individuals until something bad happens, and then we throw them in prison for the same thing that we taught them to be as children.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
It makes no sense. So allowing men to grow up to be men of all different walks of life, to be different, whether they're more feminine, more masculine, walk different, talk different, want to dress different, allow them to be them. And I think that'll help a whole lot
Yeah.
inside our community and our community.
I agree 100%. Manny, you got something you want to add? What's one thing we can do to reduce the stigma when it comes to mental health with men?
Support those that are emotional, because I tell you for myself, it took me a long time to want to speak because I am emotional. And through the hurt, through the traumas, it shows up sometimes when I speak on what I believe in, supportive of their brothers, or supportive of their persons that are, showing up and being vulnerable
Yeah.
instead of being judgmental. I feel like people would be able to release, people would be able to heal if they could actually release what they got going on inside and not feel judged for the way they're showing up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's so important with that. I'll add a tidbit. Ladies, I think we hold a great responsibility in our men life to encourage them to not only um, bring their full selves into whatever relationship they have to us, but also encourage them to take whatever they need to be them to be whole, right? Like if I know that it's been some days that my husband is just like lagging or whatever, baby, did you do your gratitude journal? Did you work out? Did you all the things that I feel like you need to be yourself? Let me give you that. Did you medicate today? Did you do you need a breather? What do you need? And even in that moment, I don't need you to be strong for me. Ladies, sometimes we got to show up and we got to figure it out a little bit more, or we got to be a little patient with him to put himself back into himself and then maybe have something for us. But every day, we need to be trying to strive with one another to help each other get to that place because mental health as a whole is a constant struggle, just like anything else. When we're trying to lose weight, when we're trying to get that job, those things are going to take practice. And so, for mental health, especially for a man to go so long without talking about his emotions and arise to a place where now he can, let's not tear them down. I see it a lot of times in community where when men of a certain experience talk about what they've been through, a lot of women get on the defense. And it is not to take away from you, it's about him stating what is necessary for him and in that process of growth and healing in his own journey. We always talking about healing until it's time for the black man to heal. And so um, I just want to encourage and lift that up. What improvements, Real, have you seen since going to therapy within your own journey?
I process things differently.
Okay.
Um, I learned to not hold stuff in. And one of my biggest weaknesses was predictive grief, as
Mm,
my therapist calls it. Um, Even as a little boy, I always had a fear of death because I dealt
mhm,
with it so much. I'm the oldest grandchild, so I've been there for my great grandmother, great grandfather, grandmother, is aunts, uncles. I've seen them all
yeah.
be here, and then things change, and then they're no longer here. Um, Friends, exes, families, those type of things. So when things start to happen or when people get sick, I had a habit of predicting grief or what could I possibly do to be there more for this person to try to prevent them from leaving. And it wasn't until I started going to therapy, she showed me that that was a pattern that I was repeating, an
Yeah.
unhealthy pattern. Um, I was always afraid to lose people. What didn't I do enough while they were here that could have possibly kept them? And again, that goes back to that male mindset of trying to save everybody.
Yeah.
She told me I couldn't do that. So going to therapy, honestly, grief was my biggest struggle. There was other things, but grief was the number one thing on my list that made me start going. Um, and it really has shifted things as a whole, realizing that people are going to come in this world and people are going to leave. And
Yeah.
sometimes death can also occur with people still being here. They're just no longer a part of your life. And you have to
Yeah.
grieve that too. And
That's true.
yeah, just learning to process things different and being okay with if you did what all you could do for a person, then you have to make peace with that and just be okay with it. Because
Yeah.
carrying it around is something going to affect other relationships and other areas in your life, and it does impact other things. So, um, yeah, therapy. Although I didn't think that it was something that I needed, I have learned in the last couple of years that it was, and it has helped, and still continuing to go, making my regular appointments and being able to tap in if I need an extra appointment, what have you. It's definitely been beneficial, and I encourage other people, if you have the option to do it, definitely take advantage of
Yes. Okay, so we got to get down to the nitty gritty because we can't really have this conversation around mental health and not talk about how high the rates are for Black men unaliving themselves. And so, um, many, if any, what experiences have you had personally or um, in connection to that could speak to why the rates are so high for Black men unaliving themselves in this country? And if you can't hear me, I'll say it again.
So, experience. I am a suicide survivor.
Okay.
It's hard, and it's hard day to day. Sometimes they're tricky. I
So
didn't hear you.
sometimes there's triggers.
You're not on the screen.
I'm not on the screen.
it. I can
Okay.
see you.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay. Can you hear me
you're
now,
on the
Manny?
screen now, but I still don't
All
hear
right.
anything.
Okay. So continue. You
Yes,
said
yes,
you
yes.
triggers. Go ahead. Okay.
Sometimes there are triggers, and it doesn't necessarily have to be something outrageous. Sometimes situations, or you lose something that's really important, and for myself, I'm an overthinker. So, sometimes we don't slow down to really think about what, you know, because I feel like a lot of those that are no longer with us, I feel like if they had a moment, kind of like take a minute process, so somebody to slow that serious, but it's serious. Know that if it's in your corner today, they get, excuse my French, going through your shit.
Hmm.
It can be a breaking point. If you feel like you're alone, I've learned that you gotta kind of like take a minute and overthink your overthinking and try to process it and slow it down
That's so real.
and realize that then you trying to deal with what's going on with those that really got you, you know? Promise you is you have so many people that turn I've had people turn their back and call it so many different things, and then they see certain outcomes that might happen and they feel bad, and it's like, now imagine if the outcome would have been worse than what it was, you know, it would be more than feeling bad, you know, that would be something that would be on someone's back. So I feel like if you know your friend or your family is not acting the way they normally act, just ask them a question. Just change your attitude. Service, you tell somebody you're there, and then you're not really there, and then you feel like you're bothering somebody. So I feel like if people didn't respond to those asking for help as if it was a bother and just really listen, we would have a lot of the souls that are no longer here with us. You know,
Mm,
Yeah.
thank you so much for that.
sometimes
Um,
the listen ain't here.
yeah, and that's one of the things too. I think in the state of the world right now, people are not being conscious, or maybe they are. I don't know. It's feel like people are not being conscious of other people' feelings and thoughts and processes or realities, and everything is for a moment of clout or a moment of recognition, um, just trying to be better than the next person, but like, or avoid that we all have something that we're struggling with. We all got shit that we going through. And like you said earlier, like you could be the person who say something to help someone else. And so I think about a lot of, especially with men, right? Some have to be the breadwinner, and there's so many things about being put in a position of taking care of everything. What are some ways some workplaces can support um, men in their mental health in that ways? Because a lot of men make sacrifices with being away from their families or just trying to provide either for themselves or for the people around them. What are some things y'all think workplaces can do to help?
Um, offer. I don't know if it would be. I wouldn't necessarily say like a men's group, but I'm sure it would be something that would be beneficial. Um, just offering a men's mental support group or men's outing, different things like that. Um,
Mm,
any type of setting that you can get in where you're around your brothers, whether it's work or anything else, is helpful. Um, that weekend that we were in St. Louis with Game Changer Men, it was nothing short of a blessing for us to just all be able to come together and just lean on one another.
yeah.
And these were gentlemen that we didn't know. A lot of us had just recently met or had never met, but just to be in a space where your journey might be a little bit different but mine, but we're still walking the same path. And your story might be you're dealing with issues within your family, you're dealing with issues within your spouse, you're dealing with your kids, your job. Like you said, everybody's dealing with something. So
Mhm.
any type of men's support group is beneficial. And if that means employers bringing that into the workplace, um, I think it will be helpful because some of these jobs are just it's stressful. So if you stressed out at work and then you come home and you stressed out, and then you know, you dealing with bills and you stressed out, you dealing with family and parents being sick and you stressed out. Everybody has a cap.
Yeah.
And if employers want their employees to be productive, being concerned about their mental health may be something to look into. And
Yeah.
whatever, you don't have to go above and beyond, but simply asking your coworkers or asking your employees, hey, how you doing today? That same way that you would have a conversation when they're doing something wrong, have that same conversation when you notice, like Manny said, when you notice that their behavior is a little off,
Yeah.
when they're being a
Yeah.
lot more silent, they're not, showing up to work as often as they would normally be. Before you write them up, ask them, hey, is everything okay? This is unlike you. Just tapping in, treat them as human beings and not just as an employee or a number. That would be
Yeah.
helpful.
Okay. Manny, you want to add on anything?
Just I want to branch off Pharrell. I also had experience with Game Changing Men. Not a shameless plug because I work with them, but Quentin Reynolds was one of the first organizations that added inclusion for me for being intersex. He had a mental wellness trip that he did in Dustin, Florida, and he was like, "Hey, are you in Atlanta? Come check it out. It's for mental health. We're gonna meditate. We're gonna talk about mental health. We're gonna meditate. We're gonna talk about all that. Like it made a big impact for me. So then going on the trip and meeting individuals, of trans experience and non-binary, and everyone was accepting on how everybody showed up. It was just a really inviting space. People that aren't normally comfortable going out and meeting people felt comfortable. They were able to enjoy themselves and be in this space and just be them. So I feel like if it's more things like that for everyone, some people need a break. People need a wind down. People need that mental check-in. And if it's sitting around the table and humming, if it's just meditating, whatever it is, sometimes we just need that breakaway, that change of space. So if that's provided, that would be good.
One thing that I've seen that my job offer is a quiet room. It's really been beneficial to sometimes unwind and decompress and just have that moment to yourself to regroup. That's been very helpful. Um, so on Miss Mouthy podcast, we love to have pearls of wisdom for our young folks that maybe coming up or somehow. I'd be so honored when young folks stumble upon the podcast and know who I am or whatever, or they can relate to the messaging and they see themselves in us as being um, the elders or the uncles or the aunties of the community. So, um, what would you say to a young person right now that a young man that may be struggling right now with his mental health? Yeah, for a number of different reasons, but what pearls of wisdom would you have for that young person?
Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to talk to somebody. Um, Isolation is not always the best option. and know that whatever you're going through, somebody else also is, but people don't know if you don't tell them. There are resources out there. Um, it may not be your biological family, but there is family that is available for you. And don't feel like you have to go through anything alone, whether it's on social media, whether it's through this platform. Reach out to somebody because there is somebody that cares about you and wants you to be here. So don't think that leaving here is the option. Reach out to somebody when you need to talk to somebody. That'll be my biggest thing. And we only get one time around this world. Don't waste it trying to be somebody else.
That part.
You're here to be you. And just know that even if the people that you were born into don't accept you, there are other options and there are other people that will.
All right. Manny, what's your pearls of wisdom for a young person?
My words of wisdom are: be you, love you, live your truth, and sometimes understand that you do have to speak if you want to be heard. Showing up is good, but sometimes you have to open your mouth so they can get receive the message. Because sometimes you're just a body in the building, and the signals can get crossed. So just be true to you and live your life, and it's you that got to make you happy. Don't worry about the world.
Thank you so much. And so, for another young person who might um, be struggling, it is okay to have a bad day. I have had a plethora of bad days. And then, even when I put myself back into position to see the days that's ahead that really get hard, I then honor the days that I thought was hard to realize that I made it through. I made it through all on my own. So just know that in and of itself, if you have made it through another day, there's another opportunity for not only you to see your resilience, but to reach out and get the help that you need because everybody need it. Everybody is at some point in their life going to struggle silently. And that's what makes you human. And that's what makes you who you're going to be. That it's not going to always be rainbows and sunshines. And being a young person, it's hard to understand this world. Why it's so filled with hate? Why is it the way it is? Or why you may feel different. But when you were created in such a way with purpose and intention, sometimes when you shine of light, darkness is drawn to that. And so don't waver. Don't be fearful of it, but own it and embrace it and find other lights so y'all can shine better together. I thank you, me, and today for coming on and being vulnerable and shining this light on mental health. Um, Not only for myself to put myself back into perspective, but I think it's important for our community to be able to have these conversations that it's good to get in community and celebrate pride, but we should also have that same pride in mental health and getting us all to where we need to be our best or better versions of ourselves. So let the people know where they can find y'all if y'all want to be found.
Yeah, my pages are pretty much the same as real underscore Lowry on Instagram, real Lowry on Facebook, trans liaison on Charlotte Black Pride. You can of course find us on Eden's Garden. Um, Definitely reach out if nothing else if you need to talk to somebody. Our film is about people living in their truth and dealing with obstacles. So trust and believe if you reach out to one of us because you're needing somebody to talk to, your message is not going to go unanswered. Reach out.
All right, Manny.
Instagram is True and V, Eden's Garden, and Leroy Vega on Eden's Garden. And like Rel said, if you message me, I will communicate with you. Um, just bear with us because we are in the middle of getting ready for this great event. So it may not happen right away, but
Yeah.
I promise you you will get a reply. If you need it, if you need somebody to help you with it,
Okay, and y'all know to follow me on I am Miss Mouthy on all platforms. It's your girl Miss Mouthy. Even when you what? Don't see me, you hear me. Till next time. Bye. Oh yeah, I am in control today.